Do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
No, not at all.
I've wondered whether you might be having some second thoughts about the mission.
How do you mean?
Again, I'm using the asterisk as a way to highlight what the person will be learning, right? Or what he'll be inputting. It's like an eye catcher. So SMS doesn't have the bold, or you can't embed special italics. So I can't put this idea of using asterisks and brackets to indicate something's happening here. You know, that's an eye catcher. I'll put it in Spanish. Okay, so I'm going to write Spanish. Spanish. Let's see what happens. All right. Now, first thing I want to point out, it's pretty wordy, but I think it's a lot of information here, but I'm sort of happy with it in a way. So notice these messages. So someone put in Spanish. If they put in French or German or Hebrew, they would get the same response, but only this will be a variable here, Spanish. So we're going to learn later, how do you do this? How do you put in Spanish and you copy that variable into the response? And Dialogflow allows you to do that kind of neatly, all right? And we're going to learn how to do that. Now it says, I'll say a phrase in English and Spanish. Now the Spanish is a lowercase. I haven't quite figured out how to make it uppercase. So my name is Jack. What is your name? And now, interesting thing we're doing here, we're using the iPhone keyboard to create the text. We're using the voice component of iPhone, Apple's iPhone, and the voice component. We're gonna speak in Spanish and create Spanish text. My number is Jack. Como te llamos? ¿Cómo te llamos? I thought it was como se llama. ¿Cómo te llamos? So we know we have the whole thing is in Spanish. All right. My name is Jack. What is your name? Mi nombre es Jack. ¿Cómo se llamo? ¿Cómo te llamo? We'll say. Now over here, the neat thing about, we also have the ability to play this phrase, mi nombre es Jack, como se, I thought it was como se llamo, it's como te llamo, it looks like.
This is just it's the informal you, como te llamas. So it might have been the shift from like Spain Spanish to US Spanish. Como te llamas?
Como te llamas?
How do you call yourself?
This is great. Voice here.
Mm-hmm.
Do it again.
¿Cómo te llamas?
I'll play it again.
Mi nombre es Jack. ¿Cómo te llamas?
I think it's pretty clear. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
Now, so mi nombre es Jack. ¿Cómo te llamas? Okay. So another neat thing I found, let me try that. Now, in order to do this properly, you got to turn on the Spanish keyboard. By hitting the globe key, I'm turning on the Spanish keyboard. I've heard the setup before to include the Spanish keyboard in my settings. And now I have a Spanish keyboard. I'll put it on the microphone. ¿Cómo te llamo? Not quite. So he doesn't quite like what I got a bug here. So
What happened? All I see is
I didn't get a response. Well, the reason why I didn't get a response is that I didn't say it exactly right. And also I have a bug because it's supposed to work where if it doesn't understand what the response to an intent, it's supposed to go to the default intent. I don't have that working properly. So let me just type in the words the way it's supposed to be. CMO. Let's see.
I'm gonna grab water really fast.
Wait, thank you. Good. I'm so glad we're doing this, by the way. It'll make things much stronger. Now you see, I'm not getting a response. Okay. So how do I get at? Let's say this is a good example, by the way. Let's say, you know what, I decided halfway through. You know what? I don't want to learn Spanish. I want to learn French. All right. Now you think, how would you think if you want to learn French, Ricky, what would you think you'd do?
Say French, or like
you said, yeah, right. You can say the French. You might say hello to start over. So I don't say that, by the way. You can start over. Let's type in French and see what happens. French. So you're right. And now I got this. This is a good example, by the way. I can turn my bug into a feature. So you see that you'll be learning some basic phrases in French. Again, the idea we got French here, and notice we can change the language at any time, and we'll learn how I did that later. So I'll say a phrase in English and blah blah blah. Ask you the same name as Jack. What's your name? Now,
can I ask you a question here?
Please.
You last time you responded "Cómo te llamas?" But that's the question that it's asking. Am I supposed to respond in kind, or am I supposed to actually answer the question?
Absolutely right. That's a bug there. Not clear. I should have said "Me llamo Mel." Right. Exactly right. That's the way I was looking for.
Okay.
Oh my God. That's wonderful. Right. It should say my name. Right. I was asking it a question. It probably was working. We'll go back later and do that. My name is Jack. So how do you put, do you know a little French? Mon nom. We can play it back. You know what the heck? We'll play it back. That's what we have that thing for. All right.
Mon nom est Jack. Quel est ton nom?
Okay, I'll play it again.
Mon nom est Jack. Quel est ton nom?
French. To your credit. I mean.
So I said, mon nom is Jack. That's the answer. Mon nom is Jack. Quel est ton nom? That means, what is your name? You're right. It's the same issue. I should say. So I say my name. I'll say, I'll play it again. What should I say? Yeah.
Mon nom est Jack. Quel est ton nom?
Got it. All right. So bring up the French keyboard. There. French. What's that? Put on the speaker. Mon nom est Melvin. Do it again.
Yeah, this is a lesson in French phonetics for you. It wants you to say mon nom. It's like very nasally. Mon nom.
You're so smart, man. Thank you.
I took a French phonetics class. It's one of those random things.
The more I learn about you, the more I see how smart you are. Yeah, mon nom est Mel. Wait a minute. Speaker on.
Yeah, mon nom est.
Mon nom est. Almost. Do it again. Maybe I'll ask you to do it. Okay, hold on. All right, speaker's on. Go ahead.
Is it recording? Or
I think so. Hold on. Hold on. Let's do it again.
Mon nom est Mel. Melvin. Yeah. I was nervous.
This is also a good demo and shows that when you use it on your iPhone or with your iMac, or maybe even with your iPad, you can have somebody, you can work with somebody doing it with a voice. That's pretty cool. So now it says, Mel, I'm so glad to finally meet you. You want to learn French. So notice the French parameter variable shows up. We have 13 minutes. I feel good. Now tell me how you're feeling. And now you have, I feel good. Now tell me how you're feeling. And we'll play the music. We'll play it.
Je me sens bien. Maintenant, dis-moi comment tu te sens.
On the fast side. Okay, I'll play it one more time.
Je me sens bien. Maintenant, dis-moi comment tu te sens.
Oh boy. So let's see. Looks like the way, how are you feeling? So, je me sens bien. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
Je me sens bien. You don't pronounce the S. You just say, je me sens bien. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try that, man. So I'll put in the, turn on the, let's say the quick span, French again. I got the French. Turn on the microphone. Okay. Je me sens bien. Look at that. So we got a response. What did the response? What did they get? Mel, great to hear that you're doing well. You completed lesson number 1 in French. What do you think?
Yeah.
How about your first experience in Twilio and Dialogflow? Say goodbye or hello and start over. That's quite a mouthful. And play out the thing here. Say goodbye.
Dites au revoir ou bonjour pour recommencer.
Oh, that's a minute. Okay. That's a mouthful.
Dites au revoir ou bonjour pour recommencer.
You know what I can say? I probably can sneak it in as English. Let me just, I'll cheat. De au revoir ou bonjour. Bonjour pour. How about the bonjour? How do you pronounce this, Ricky? Bonjour pour.
You would only need to say bonjour.
Let's see what happens. I say bonjour. I may have a bug somewhere. All right. Okay. Bonjour. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Got back to the beginning. Pretty good, Mel. All right. So now, pretty good demo. So that's not bad at all. Now the thing is, it's showing me French again at the bottom. I got to clear that out. Now we got 10 minutes left. So I'm going to show you. So some key ideas here. I want to just get across again that the variable name for the language is passed along, French, right? And my name that I captured, Mel, was remember I captured Mel earlier? You know?
Yeah.
So that he appears on subsequent screens. So Mel and the word French are passed on to subsequent screens. Not an easy thing to do, by the way, in Dialogflow, as we're going to see in a minute. So let me bring up. Go ahead.
UX question. It's not a question. I actually understand this now. Say goodbye or hello to start over. I think it might help to say like say goodbye to end the lesson or hello to start over. Because right now it looks like you need to say goodbye or hello in order to start over. Do you see what I mean?
Say it again. You can say, what did you just say?
It looks like I need, it looks like in order to start over, I need to say goodbye or hello.
Or, I should have quotes, in other words, maybe something like that. Quotes around them.
Yeah, it just like say goodbye to end the interaction or hello to start over.
I see. Actually,
goodbye will do something different.
I got your point. I take your point. It's a little confusing about goodbye. Yeah, I don't have it working yet either, by the way. Goodbye doesn't work right. I made a little diagram showing the flow of the intents or the conversation on how this application. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this diagram wants to show that what's actually happening in this app. All right, the app, what the app is doing, it's when you say hello, it then asks you what language you want to speak. It asks you what is your name. It asks you how do you feel. And then when you say answer all these questions, he says you completed lesson number 1. All right. So what language do you want to speak? If you say Spanish, he goes and he says, all right, what is your name? He talks to you in Spanish over here, right? What's your name? And you reply in Spanish, right? And then after you've entered your name in Spanish and you've entered your language, how do you feel? It asks you, how do you feel in Spanish, right? Remember that? Okay. Mm-hmm. And then it says at the very end, you complete lesson 1 in Spanish. So, all right. So again, what language do you want to speak? What is your name and how do you feel? All right. Well, then the question is, now wait a minute here. We're going to learn about context or what I call the state of the conversation. Now, in the very beginning, let's say you're having a conversation with somebody, right? And they say hello. Now, and then you ask them what language you want to speak. They tell you Spanish. What's your name? Let's say, for example, you want to say hello in the middle of a conversation. You say, you say hello. Now, in a normal conversation, well, if someone said to you hello in the middle of a conversation, what would you say?
I don't know. You're being weird.
Exactly. You're being weird. Because why is that? Because we remember we're in the middle of a conversation. We're in a certain context, right? We're in a context. We're in a certain state. And what are you saying hello for? I ask you, what's your name? And you say hello, right? I ask you, how do you feel? And you say hello. Now, so currently, right now, the way this thing is written, you can say hello, and then what language do you want to speak? Now, over here, when you get to this point, where it's just I want to learn, when it says, what is your name? If you would say hello over here, right? I want to learn, what is your, if you say hello over here, the way the program is written, it would still go over here because at any point in the game, you can say hello. Now, if you're over here and let's say instead of saying hello in the beginning, let's say instead of texting hello, you texted your name, okay? If you texted your name in the very beginning, let's say the common thing is, I'll text my name to an application. Well, this application, if you text your name, we're going to find out for proof positive, it would probably reject you because it's looking for the word hello, a variation of the word hello. So there already is implicit in this diagram some kind of context or some kind of state. Now, we'll look at the the program, the Dialogflow program a little more.
It's not really that the program is expecting hello, right? To this point about like why they might not like use anyway, the program is kind of stateless and kind of. And so if you say hello, there's an intent that works for that. But if you say your name, the program doesn't have the right context to like process the name.
So it's stateless, right? I like that word. It's contextless, right? I like that. So in the very beginning, there's the program has no state and no context, right? Which is fine. I mean, well, on the other hand, in a real conversation, you wouldn't, but still, even though it's stateless, Ricky, you can't say your name to start it off, right? I don't think.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Is you can say anything, but only a certain like range of possibilities are going to be like accepted by this particular chatbot, right?
Right, exactly. Even though it's stateless, your point is there's still a range of things you can say. That's your point, right? There's no state, but there is a range. This is very good. There's two elements. And kicking off an intent. This is really good. You hit something really I wanted to emphasize. Now, an intent has two things in it. It has a context and also has those words that it's looking for. So there's two elements. Let's go into the two elements.
Can I take a step back and ask you a question? Because saying hello in the middle of a conversation is weird, right? But what is the reverse of that? Like what, instead of like a customary greeting, to be like what's the, do you see what I mean? What's the inverse of that scenario? Converse?
Tell me, the invert. But he can say anything? Is that what we're trying to get at?
Well, yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that like in the middle of our conversation, if I'm just like, hello, Mel, like that's kind of weird, right? Like that, but then at the same time, if in the middle of or like if I don't know, if you like met a stranger on the street and it was like, how much do you make a year? Like, what's your address, right? Like that's also really like weird and random. But for the opposite reason, right? When you say hello in the middle of a conversation, it's weird because you have like too much context built up for that to be appropriate. But then in this other scenario, you can make it even worse and be like, what did I study in college? And it's like the person doesn't have enough context to like appropriately answer that question, right? There's like no context in the conversation. And I think the problem you're talking about is the inverse, where if like at the beginning you say like, my name is Ricky, like there's not enough context in the conversation to like have that interaction yet.
Well, to your point, let's say the way what you just said, that somebody can blurt out a question in the middle of a conversation that appears to have no context, right? Very good. Now that question we don't want to block, and that's your point. So maybe, in other words, with Dialogflow, you could block somebody from repeating the word hello. You see, I think.
Sure.
That way you can block that. You can block, but maybe you don't want to block a guy saying anything. In fact, you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to take. In fact, the way the program will happen right now, the guy something. I don't know how much money they make. The way it's written now, we'll go to the ELIZA code. You see, which is kind of cool in a way. In other words, because if it doesn't fit any intent, they go to ELIZA. ELIZA might say, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" Or it won't say to him, we already talked about that. Here's what I'm getting here is, how do you prevent, we'll get to that in a minute. How do you prevent like a duplicate? It's a way of, let's say the guy is talking, duplicating. Well, let's look at the Dialogflow. This is really interesting. I didn't quite expect it to be such a wonderful sidebar. This is really good. See, here is where are you? Oh, intense. Okay. And here is the intense. And here's hello, right? And hello has no parameters, and it has no input context right now. All right. And it does have training phrases. That's the key word. It has training phrases. And I want to do later. I want to put an extra intent in that if somebody says hello twice in the conversation, we're going to recognize it and say, "Hey, you already said hello. Were you weird? You know?" Okay, let's try and figure out how to do that. So then you worry, the guy, I can tutor you in English, what language you want to learn. And the next intent is, so there's no context, there's no state here. We'll go to intent again, and we'll look at the name. And here, there's two things happening here. Now we still don't have any context, right? Wait a minute. Name except, no, what? And the next one is the wrong one here. It's the language I want to learn. That's the next. That's right. The one. Right. That's the one. So now, it's over here. Go down a little bit here. And there's still no. There's no input context. There's an output context. Okay. Right. And down here, we have the entity table. And then now, so in a way, this is cool. So when you say chosen language, what's really happening here? I want to get your opinion on this one. To me, it means a context has been set or a state has happened. Something's happened. When this intent is executed, execution time, the context has been turned on. Now the guy's in context. What does that mean? It means he has chosen a language. That's the context. We're having a conversation and you've chosen a language. And I remember that you chose a language. And so in a way, so the state of the conversation is this guy has chosen a language. And but there's no input, there's only an output. All right. So now we do have a parameter here, okay? But we don't have any reference, we don't have any references to a prior context. So now we say, all right, so now we're not going to go over the parameter, we know that. So now we want to text something in. Let's see, how do I do that? I say, all right, I'll say Spanish. All right, so now it went to the next intent, which is tell me your name. Let's go over there. Name, that's the one. Okay, now this is what I find interesting. So this intent has an input context. And now we're in context and we're in a state diagram where the prior state was chosen language, that was the prior context. And it's saying, so this thing was actually, why was it executed? Here's a rhetorical question for you, my friend. Why was this intent executed? How would you answer that question? Why was it executed?
Because somebody responded with their name and they had already chosen a language. Exactly.
So there's two things happening here. The context fits, or is for the prior. It's in context. The conversation is in context. This intent continues the conversation in context, and also it has to pass these training phrases, right? So in other words, two things are happening. It could be that you can have something in context, but the training phrases don't match. Well, maybe, all right. So anyway, I'm so glad to, all right. So now, aha. So now it references, this is a heck of an expression, okay? The way it does it. It says chosen language. So this chosen language is the context of the prior, is a context that was created in a prior intent, right? Hence the pound sign. And that language is a parameter that was created.
I'm going.
Okay, honey.
Just leave the door open.
Okay.
Here.
It was created, so this context was created and the parameter refers to that context. Okay, so two things are happening. So now, how much time we got? We got another 4 minutes. So anyway, that we move along with that. And then we type in, I'm fine, how are you? I say, I'm fine. Okay, I should have said is good or something. Good. Can you repeat? Oh, am I talking Spanish here?
Yeah. Estoy bien.
Estoy bien. Thank you. Estoy bien.
Oh, wait. No. Because it translates it back to English before sending it to Dialogflow, right?
You see. Oh, yeah. How's it going to work? Oh, yeah. And this doesn't quite. Wait a minute. It should.
I am well.
I am well. No, wait a minute. No, it assumes that. How does this thing work? Why doesn't it work? What's the next context? Now wait a minute. No, it doesn't. Wait a minute. This doesn't. This go here? Oh, this goes to all the back end is a kind of mishmash. It won't quite work right because the back end is assuming you're putting it in Spanish, by the way.
Don't you translate back to English before you send things to Dialogflow?
I do. So why doesn't it work, right?
Yeah.
That's a quite good question. Let's try. Let's look at the next intent. How are you?
Is it I am fine? What's the intent?
That's
I am fine.
That's not. Oh. What's the one there? What's up there? Oh, how are you? Is that the one?
No, that's when you're just in.
Oh, maybe it's I am fine. Okay, good. Thanks. I am fine. Oh, yes, I am fine. Okay. So,
does it have an input context?
Yeah. Chosen person.
That's why. It's chosen person and chosen language.
So that's what's going on here. Are they both turned on? Let's see.
No, after the previous on the name accepted intent, it only returns the name as the context. So inside of name accepted, see your output is chosen person, but not chosen language.
Oh, it's a mistake. Okay, good.
Yeah, chosen language doesn't stick around. I think we talked, we were output.
Oh, yeah. So I should have said chosen language, right?
Yeah, it needs both of them.
I wonder why. That explains a lot of things, by the way. Yeah.
I think this was a question we had a couple of weeks back where it was like, will the system hold on to context? But it doesn't. See, this is more of it being stateless. It's only like keeping context around as long as it needs to. It gets erased if the next intent doesn't.
I thought 5 means it stays around for 5.
Oh, so I didn't know about lifespan. Okay.
I think lifespan, that's how it has to do with lifespan. Name accepted, chosen language.
I don't know then.
Let's try it again. Hello. Spanish. What's your name? Mel. How are you? see if this begins. Doesn't look right. I mean, I have something in the, I think it has to be in. Maybe
It needs to be in English.
Let's try. All right. Good. Let's see. Ah, you're right. It has to be in English, right? This thing, this guy doesn't call the Python program is not part of this, right? This right.
Right.
So that's why. So it worked. Good works. Okay. So now we only have a minute. I want to make it really fast. So on this screen, also the last screen is I am fine. Is that it? Yeah. So it has a chosen language. It has the two contexts: chosen person context and chosen language context, right? It also has the two parameters associated with those two contexts, right? You see that?
Yeah.
That's how it works. Now, let me show you one more. Let's say we have time for this or not. I'll show you. I want to create a context called another hello. How do I do a context? How do I create a context? Oh, I'll call it hello one. Okay. And I'll put in I'll say as an input. Wait a minute. I'll give it a context. I'll put in chosen language. Okay. And then I'll put in a word in the try training impression. Hello. Okay. All right. And then I'll say on the bottom, I'll say, what? Okay. And then I'll save it. Now here's my theory. So now, if the guy says hello in the middle of a conversation, he'll say, what? Because this context is on. In other words, if he says, let's prove that. It proves that the way Dialogflow works is before he looks at the training phrases, he first sees what context you're in, and then he looks at the training phrases. That's my theory. Okay, so let's see something here. Let's try the word. See how we say the word hello. Now, right now we're in context. You see that? We happen to be in context. I'll say hello. What? You see? The word what? Now, if I clear the context, this proves that how Dialogflow works. Now, we can resend. Let's say resent it. Okay. Now I'll start again with, I'll say hello. All right. Now I'll try hello over here. Ah, you see, now I cleared the context, you see, Ricky, and now this proves, and now this shows you how dialogue really works. Well, first thing he does, he looks at the state of the conversation, right? And then he looks at the training phrases, and then he knows where he is, and he can say, well, so that's how you would avoid that hello in the middle of a conversation. And also, if you let's say the guy said something in the middle of a conversation that you were fine with it. All right, say you could just change that. We just talked about how you could allow anything. You can say okay, great.
Yeah.
So that actually, to the point of this was to show how Dialogflow thinks, and that I think we accomplished that. We got a little closer. So I'm very grateful to you for sitting in on this thing, because I think that before you do any kind of anything in Dialogflow, you got to understand how context works.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about Dialogflow. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
I've got to say though, I'm really curious about how a more complex like Dialogflow system is set up, because what you've got going is like fairly complicated, but a lot of the complexity really lives in your Python code. And if you're building like a form or something like that with Dialogflow, I'm very curious about what it would look like, because a lot of this is super manual in my opinion, and like I don't know, like passing context between like a bunch of intents to collect user information.
Well, before you hang up, that was the next problem I was going to do. It's a famous problem. How do you get a name, address, and phone number for somebody? What's the best way to do it? It's written 1,000 times every day. And I was going to do that next, but I said, you know what, let me do this first. I did that once with the AI of, what's it called again? Twilio had some kind of product.
Autopilot.
Yeah. Boy, that was a bit of a horror story. I tried to use voice. And voice is hard when you put it in, guys, ever notice on most of these data gathering programs, they very rarely ask you your email. They never do that. It's hard.
I haven't noticed that. Yeah, it makes sense.
They never say, "Oh, what's your email, Mel?" Oh no, they keep away from that like a horror story. It's hard to get your name straight. I went through like a month or two trying to get what was it called again? What'd you call it again? The Twilio program. Autopilot to do voice detection with address. It's great with numbers. When I started doing emails, wait, and then
Lord have mercy on anybody who has to deal with customers in Boston or something like.
But even this, but even this one you just suggested, just gathering information, name, phone number, and then you have to offer them the ability to change something at the very end. You do a recap. That means you got to have a way of allowing them to go back in with, what do you want to change? My address. Or Bing, what's your address? So
Mel, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just realized the time. I do need to run. I have another meeting.
Thank you for sitting in. And please make that thing available to me, the video, when you have a chance.
Yeah, I'll put it in the